For 8 seasons and nearly 200 episodes, Mannix was the quintessential television private investigator. Created by Richard Levinson and William Link of Columbo fame and developed by Mission Impossible's Bruce Geller, Mannix was as solid of a show as it was formulaic. While it was certainly a series that suffered from many of the same plights that plagued most episodic television dramas of its day, there's still so much to love about it. Join Factsverse as we take a closer look at some huge details you missed in Mannix. The I Love Lucy connection. The late great Lucille Ball helped bring Mannix into existence. Lucy and Desi Arnaz's company, Desilu Productions, produced the series, and since it went on to air for 8 seasons, it holds the honor of being the longest-running Desilu drama series. The second longest, Mission Impossible, ran for 7 seasons, while the third, The Untouchables, ran for 4. Mike Connors landed his iconic role on Mannix after Ball's second husband and head of Desilu at the time, Gary Morton, noticed his 1937 Bentley convertible parked outside his office. The two struck up a conversation, and Morton suddenly remembered he was looking for some fresh blood to take the lead on his new detective series. Realizing Connors would fit the bill perfectly, he offered him the job. After the show's first season failed to draw in the kind of numbers CBS was hoping for, and they were considering giving it the axe, Ball personally fought for Mannix to be given another season. After agreeing to make a few tweaks to the plot, the series was saved from cancellation. Originally, Mannix worked for a somewhat Orwellian surveillance company called Interact, which used computers to crack cases. In later seasons, he worked as a solo private eye, using his people skills and fists to solve cases. With those changes implemented, Season 2 saw Mannix's ratings improve dramatically. In no time, it had managed to enter into the top 10 shows on the air. It was the last Desilu show. Mannix was the last series produced by Desilu Productions. After the sale of Desilu to Gulf and Western in 1967, the studio was renamed Paramount Television. At the time of the sale, the other series Desilu had in production were Star Trek, The Lucy Show, Mission Impossible, and Mannix. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already, and stick around for more incredible Mannix facts. It was originally going to have another title. Remember how we mentioned Mannix initially worked for that high-tech company, Interact? Well, that was what the series was originally going to be called as well. It's a good thing the series was eventually given the name we know it by today, because Ball likely wouldn't have been able to convince the network brass to keep the show afloat for another season if it had been named after the 1984-inspired LA-based surveillance company. Gail Fisher made history. Playing Secretary Peggy Fair on Mannix from 1968 to 75, Gail Fisher was one of the first African-American women to have a regular role on a TV series. Fisher ended up winning 2 Golden Globes and an Emmy Award for her role. She was also the first African-American woman to ever win a Golden Globe. Mannix's army buddies were always causing problems. Pretty much every TV show from the 1960s eventually employed this same old plot device. The show's leads' old buddies would show up out of the blue and find a way to raise hell. It's a television trope as old as time itself. On Mannix, it was Joe's old Korean War pals who showed up fairly regularly and stirred up trouble. They either had gotten themselves in some kind of trouble and needed his help, or had it out to kill the guy. Similarly, in one episode, Bill Bixby, who later played the human form of the Incredible Hulk, played one of Mannix's fishing buddies, Tony Elliott. Bixby directed that episode, which was called The Empty Towers, as well as 3 others from the series' final season. Mike Brady was an LAPD cop. The father figure of TV's most famed blended family, Mike Brady, played by Robert Reed, had a real-life side gig when he wasn't acting, working for the LAPD as a police officer. On Mannix, he was given a recurring role from 1969 to 75 as Lieutenant Adam Tobias. The Mannix Crossovers. Desilu shows often featured famous guest stars. In 1971, Mike Connors appeared on an episode of Here's Lucy, titled Lucy and Mannix Are Held Hostage. A couple decades later, Connors reprised his role as Mannix on a 1997 episode of Diagnosis Murder. That episode, Hard Boiled Murder, actually served as a sequel to the 1973 Mannix episode Little Lost Girl. Joe could take a beating. Throughout the series, Mannix often found himself repeatedly stabbed, shot, beaten, ran off the road, and assaulted. In total, he was shot almost 20 times and knocked out at least 50. While filming the series' pilot episode, Mike Connors actually dislocated his shoulder and broke his hand. Buffalo Springfield made a guest appearance. While it seems like an unlikely pairing, Neil Young and the other band members of Canadian-American classic rock outfit Buffalo Springfield made a cameo on an episode of Mannix titled Warning Live Blueberries in 1967. Young and company can be heard playing the song Bluebird in that episode. Other stars who made appearances on Mannix include John Denver, Neil Diamond, Hugh Beaumont, Eve Plum, Tom Selleck, William Shatner, and Adam West, although the full list is ridiculously long. Mike Connors sued Paramount and CBS over royalties. In May of 2011, shortly before the series was re-released on DVD, Connors filed a suit with the LA Superior Court claiming that CBS television studios and Paramount never paid him the royalties he was promised. The case was eventually settled out of court a year later. Johnny Carson inadvertently got Mannix canceled. When Mannix wrapped up its 8th season, it was still in the top 20 in the Nielsen ratings. Plans had been made for a 9th season, but those didn't end up panning out. Connors had been told at a CBS network party a week before the network was going to release their 1975 fall schedule that the show was all but guaranteed to be picked up. Obviously, this didn't end up happening. Connors was left without a job because of reasons entirely out of his control. Rival network ABC was struggling with late-night viewership. NBC had their immensely popular talk show The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson at 11:30, and CBS was doing well with the CBS Late Movie. Everything ABC tried to do to dial up their late-night ratings didn't seem to help. The Dick Cavett Show flopped, so they came up with ABC's Wide World of Entertainment, a programming block that included everything from live rock concerts to comedy news shows to mystery films, but that didn't work either. So in 1975, ABC decided to essentially just give up and air reruns. They even started airing hit shows from other networks, including NBC's Policewoman, and since Paramount took control of Mannix after Desilu changed hands, they planned on airing episodes of that as well. Paramount saw no problem letting ABC air a few episodes of their show, but no one told CBS about their decision. When CBS found out that Mannix was heading to another network to air as reruns, the network execs turned on the show. They figured that if their series was rerunning on another network, it would cheapen the appeal of having new episodes on theirs. So they scrapped the show entirely. Now it's time to hear from you. What are some of your favorite episodes of Mannix? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.